So Kechi, first of all, welcome. It's
Thank
such
you.
a delight to have you with us here today. Tell us about the beginning, about the early years and your family.
So my name is Kechi, Kechi Okwuchi. I'm Nigerian born. I'm a Nigerian. I was born there and lived there for the most formative years of my life up until I was 16 years old. And I lived there with my parents. I was born into a wonderful home. I was an only child for a while before my little sister was born when I was 11. And I just spent my childhood in Nigeria with family and friends. And I went all the way up to being a senior in high school before I moved out of Nigeria.
So tell us about your religious background in the early years.
So I was born into a Catholic household at first. I was baptized in a Catholic church. But as I grew older, as my mom and my parents kind of grew in their faith, we became more like non-denominational Christians. I just remember always having been within the faith. You know, my parents have always been in the faith and believing in Christ, and that was always a part of my childhood. You know, I grew up with family that also believed the same things that we did, so it was a very loving and welcoming kind of environment that I always found myself in as a result of what we believed. So yeah, I've always been Christian.
So let's go back to that day. What do you remember about the plane crash?
So the plane crash happened when I was 16 years old. We start school a little earlier in Nigeria, so by 16 I was already a senior in high school. And the most important thing in my life at the time was SATs. That was what I was building up to. You know, all I knew was I had to study and pass that exam so I could get on with the rest of my life. And so going home that weekend was really routine. You know, this is something that we've always done. I went to a boarding high school, so there was nothing unusual about being on a plane that day. You know, we would board the same plane. Those of us who lived in the same area would board the same plane to get home because the boarding school was pretty far away from where most people lived. So this was something I'd always done every year. At the end of every semester, I would board the same plane with all these kids, all these friends, and go home. And that was the same on December 10th, 2005. It was a Saturday, and semester was over. We're heading home, as usual. And on my mind, I just had all these exams I had to take to pass out of high school. And we boarded the plane after a little bit of a delay, and we took off. And it was myself and 60 other students from my high school, including many close friends, as well as other passengers who I didn't know prior to the crash, just a regular Boeing jet. So 109 total. And I remember we took off, everything was fine, everything was normal. There was nothing unusual about the flight for the most part. It was only about 15, 20 minutes to landing, you know, when the pilot makes the announcement that we would be landing pretty soon in the airport. That was when the turbulence started. And I remember at first it was very normal, nothing unusual, but then it started to get very exaggerated, very pronounced, and people started to kind of freak out on the plane. And I remember a woman at the back of the plane kind of screamed, and I was in an aisle seat, so I couldn't see out the window, but I knew, like, from her scream something was wrong, and people started to just kind of, it was just chaos, you know, screaming. There was no running around or anything, but just I remember lots of screaming and shouting. And I was just sitting in my chair, confused as to what was going on, not really sure that this was reality, because you don't prepare for something like that. And my last memory is holding my friend's hand. She was in the aisle seat next to mine. And I remember just hearing this metal scraping sound. I remember that one of us also said something about praying. We had no clue what was going on or what was about to happen. But then right after that sound I heard, it was just blackout. And then I opened my eyes, and I was in the hospital in South Africa, and 5 weeks had passed.
So tell us about the recovery.
So it turned out that I sustained third-degree burns over 65% of my body, which means everywhere from top to bottom burned except for my torso. And my torso was the area that they excavated skin to cover everywhere else that didn't have skin. So South Africa was where I was flown to the night of the accident with my mom, who hasn't left my side ever since. And that was the place where they patched me back together. I call it my patchwork era. That was where they brought me back from the brink, and all the major grafts that I ever got that basically covered me up and kept me alive were done in South Africa. And I was there for 7 months, 4 in the ICU and 3 in the ward before I moved over to America with my family.
You mentioned that your mother was by your side the whole time. Tell us about your relationship with your mom and how that was important during that time.
My mom and I have always had a very special bond. I was very attached to her, extremely, as a kid. I wanted to go everywhere with her, and she wanted to take me everywhere with her, so it worked out. And I just remember being very happy as a kid, and I remember her just being so loving, and I still have those, like, that's how I still see her. So we always had this thing where we're just really close. And after the accident happened, my dad actually said in the beginning, she told me because I don't remember this, that he said that I was holding on because of her, most likely. Because after the accident happened, I was told that when the plane crashed and exploded, a guy saw my body moving in the debris, and he was the one who kind of got me out of the mess and took me to a hospital, and then called my mom, who had already left the site because they thought everyone was gone. And he called her, because apparently I gave him her number, I don't know how, and said where to meet me. And that when I got there, I was in such bad shape that my dad was like that. He has no idea how I'm still holding on, that it must just be because I want to just see my mom. And that's really, that's the kind of bond that we had. And she was my reason for the most part, in the beginning especially, for going through all the stuff I had to go through to get better, for all the surgeries I had to do, all the pain I had to endure, the itching, all that was, I just did all the stuff I was supposed to because I wanted to see her smile and see her happy. So for a long time before I even started to get invested in my faith, she was my reason for doing everything right after the accident happened, yeah.
Did you ever wonder, why did this happen? Or how did you continue to trust in God through this?
Honestly, my faith was nothing like what it became after the accident before. In the beginning of my life, up until when I was 16, I believed what my parents believed, period. I didn't really think about investing something direct with God. I had this derived kind of relationship with him through my family. And so I didn't have this zeal to develop something personal and intimate with him. But that happened just by itself, naturally, after the accident. When I got to a point where I started to understand that there's only so much medication can do. It can take away the physical pain and deal with all the physical stuff, but there's a healing that has to be done on the inside that surgery can't reach. And I came to that realization the first time that I prayed after the accident for myself. Before I did this praying, I was completely reliant on the prayers of others. I felt they were sustaining me, so I didn't have to. My mom's faith was sustaining me. I didn't have to develop mine. But after a while, I got to a point where, it just wasn't enough because she was drawing her strength from somewhere else, too. And at a point, she will run out, too. And then what would I do? So my trial came when I couldn't sleep after like 3 days of no sleep. I had severe insomnia. And I was at my wit's end, and my grandma kind of was the one who told me what to do. She was like, you need to pray. And to me, that was so unhelpful because I was like in this literal physical pain. How was talking to someone I can't see going to help me? But she was like, I need to stop seeing God as this like being that wouldn't respond to my prayers, or like a being who is only there to judge me, basically. I need to talk to him like I would talk to my dad. And so I did that for the first time that night. And that was the first time since the accident happened that I slept without the help of any medication. That caught my attention. So from there, I started to develop something for myself. My faith was sustained by the people around me, point blank. My mom's faith sustained mine, and the prayers of others sustained my prayers. And even when I realized the truth about the accident, I knew that it was him that would give me the peace I needed to deal with the grief of that moment. So honestly, I have to say that my support system really came through for me in the time that I needed them most, in the time that I needed God most.
So let's go forward to America's Got Talent.
Yes.
What was the most exciting moment for you as it relates to America's Got Talent?
Oh my gosh, so many moments flash in front of my. Okay, so I was on the show twice. First time was 2017, and it had its amazing moments, but for sure, my most incredible experience on that show was the one that happened this year when I was on Champions, when I got the golden buzzer from Simon. That was surreal. I still can't believe that happened. I watch the video often to kind of make sure it wasn't a dream, you know. I'm like, this was actually a real thing, you know. And I just remember the joy and the disbelief that I felt that he would do that for me, you know, that he felt that I was worth giving me that gift, you know. So I would always treasure that moment as one of the best things that ever happened to me, ever, not just on the show.
All right, so take us behind the scenes. Who's really your favorite judge?
So before Champions, my favorite judge was actually Howie because he was so sweet and personable, and I saw him the most off stage, like when we're not like shooting, doing actual show day, and he was always so friendly and sweet, and he hugged me a lot of times, and he just seemed like a really genuine person. I was definitely most starstruck by Mel B because I grew up watching Spice Girls and loving Spice Girls. So for me, that was like starstruck moment. Although she is very small in person, though she's like 4'9", she's tiny. I was like, wow, she seems so bigger than life in like on TV. But after the Golden Buzzer, Simon like went up like a bunch of notches for sure for me, like naturally. Like he did that, and you know, even before that moment on the show, the regular seasons, he was really sweet to me as well. You know, we all know he's not always the sweetest guy, but I experienced only his good side, so I'm gonna be forever grateful for that. But yeah, I think he became my favorite after he gave me the buzzer for sure.
So looking forward, not that we know specifically what the future holds, but what are your plans?
AGT gave me the opportunity to hope for a future in music. You know, I never thought that I would possibly be singing in front of an audience of that size, or ever again, really. Before AGT, I was singing in my home. I have a karaoke machine at home that my dad bought for me, and that's my favorite pastime. And that was really it for me for music. I had no clue that all this stuff would happen. So because of the show, I got this hope that maybe there's actually something for me in this industry. Maybe I can actually pursue music. And so I released my first original song last year. And I'm working on an album right now, which is the coolest thing to actually say out loud. But I'm working on like an album with original songs, and I'm looking toward a February 2020 release. I'm very excited. And I'm also working on a book, which is a little harder to do because I have to delve into memories that I haven't really visited for a long time. But those are the two major things on my list for sure. And of course, I love opportunities to speak at events like this and any other kind of event that allows me to share my story and my voice in a positive way.
Outstanding. Well, it's not quite America's Got Talent here. I don't see a golden buzzer, but I understand you have a couple of songs to sing for us today.
That I do, yes.
What will you be singing for us?
So the first song is called Defender. I love that song. It just makes me feel, it puts me right into the worship mode, and it makes me feel like just this full feeling of worshiping this God who has done so much for me and done so many unexpected things in my life, in many people's lives. So when I sing it, I feel like I'm transcending really, you know, and really appreciating him for how amazing he is. And then the second song is also a favorite. If anyone watched The Greatest Showman, there's a song on there called This Is Me that pretty much exemplifies everything I believe about myself and about how people should feel about themselves. So when I sing it, I'm pretty passionate as well. So please bear with me, but also join me if you can or if you want to, because I will be having fun as I'm singing that song. So yeah, so those are the two songs. I hope you guys enjoy them.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, Kechi. To you.
You go before I know that you've even gone to win my war. You come back with the head of my enemy. You come back and you call it my victory. Oh, yeah. You go before I know that you've even gone to win my war. Your love becomes my greatest defense. You lead me from the dry wilderness, and all I did was praise. All I did was worship. All I did was bow down. All I did was stay still. Hallelujah, you have saved me. So much better this way. And hallelujah, great defender. So much better your way. You know before I do, when my heart can seek to find your truth. Your mercy is the shade I'm living in. You restore my faith and hope again. And all I did was praise. All I did was worship. All I did was bow down. I'm just gonna stay still. Oh, and hallelujah, you have saved me. So much better this way. And hallelujah, great defender. So much better your way. And hallelujah, you have saved me. So much better this way. Hallelujah. And hallelujah, great defender. So much better your way. Hallelujah. Defender, defender. Oh, yeah. When I thought I lost me, you knew where I left me. You reintroduced me to your heart. You picked up all my pieces, put me back together. You are the defender of my heart. When I thought I lost me, you knew where I left me. You reintroduced me to your heart. You picked up all my pieces, put me back together. You are the defender was bowed down. All I did was stay still. Yeah, I'm just gonna stay still. I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say. We don't want your broken parts. I used to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say. No one will love you as you are, but won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm gonna stand the flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. Whoa. Another round of bullets hits my skin. Won't fire away, 'cause today I won't let the shame sink in. We are breaking through the barricades and reaching for the sun. Oh, that's what we've become. I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we're glorious. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. And I know that I deserve your love. There's nothing I'm not worthy of. When the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm gonna stand the flood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, here I come. Watch out, here I come. This is me. Oh, I'm gonna stand good, gonna drown them out. Oh, this is me. Thank you guys so much.